Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And a special good morning. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Another hour coming up, or the first hour, actually, of today's broadcast. Good morning, Fabio. How are you this morning?
Howdy.
Howdy. So, are you a car guy? No.
No, sir.
No, but you do drive a Prius, right?
That's correct.
I'm going to tell a little story, not in the open here, but a little later in the program. Remind me to share the story about a Prius and about an ABS brake warning light and traction control light that was on for this owner of this 2012 Prius, and it's a Prius V. And really, I looked at the car, I would say it had 30,000 miles on it, but it didn't. It had 105,000. It was absolutely beautiful, but the brake pedal was soft and the ABS light was on and all the warning lights. And folks, you'll be interested in this. And Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you this morning by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Sign up for O Rewards membership today and earn a point for every dollar you spend. You can receive rewards twice as fast and on the go when you provide your email address. How easy is that? O Rewards members get $5 back for every $150 spent, and it's fast, it's easy, and it's free. It's money for nothing, as they say, only at O'Reilly Auto Parts. You can see your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store for details, or go to orewards.com. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices, every day. Your calls when I come back.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn earrings today.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Michaela's got like the best earrings.
Sarah, buckle up.
I wish my name was Michaela.
We're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
It can be tough getting through to kids, but it's your job to make sure they're wearing your seatbelts. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Berryman B12 Chem 2 features HEST, or high-energy solvent technology. Using a combination of stronger solvents, HEST technology helps maximize one-tank cleanup of intake valves, fuel injectors, and combustion chambers. But don't take our word for it. Paul S. had a hot start problem on an 86 Mercure. The injectors were leaking fuel, which flooded the motor. Instead of replacing parts, Paul tried Berryman B12 Chem 2. After just 2 cans, the car performed better, mileage improved, and the hot start problem went away. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com. In the service bay this week, a 2000 Ford Taurus. The customer had brought the vehicle in because it rode rough and handled poorly. Not uncommon for older cars with 85,000 miles. It was also making a lot of noise over slight bumps. After checking the vehicle out thoroughly, our diagnosis was that both front struts had gone bad. They were bouncy, and the bushings were worn and loose. The solution? A set of Motorcraft loaded struts to help restore original ride and feel. And because Motorcraft offers a preloaded strut assembly, the customer saves money on labor, and the shop can move on quickly to the next vehicle. Not to mention not fighting with rust and typical disassembly issues associated with all older type vehicles. After installing the new Motorcraft assemblies, the ride and handling was restored to the condition that the owner remembered. Motorcraft parts are specifically designed for all your Ford and Lincoln repairs. Motorcraft, right part, priced right. Learn more about Motorcraft loaded struts and other high-quality vehicle-specific parts at motorcraft.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You know what makes me proud, and Fabio, thank you so much for your timing. It's impeccable. It's actually better than that. It's almost perfect, and there's nothing perfect. But the timing, folks, is important because we are live as we speak right now. But those breaks are commercials, as you know, are pre-recorded, and they're on a disc, and Fabio cues them. So when you hear the music, you know, then I have X amount of time to shut up and get out for the break. And I like to go to the ragged edge. It's fun for me. And it reminds me of my drag racing days, or if you're a runner, you know, when you think about world records or any kind of local records, it's all about time, you know. And so I like to cut it close. And if I can cut my, welcome back to, or let's take a break from, as close as possible, it makes it more interesting to me. And the more interesting it is to me, the more fun I have. And the more fun I have, the more fun you and I have. I mean, it's just contagious. And it's great because it's great to be excited. Who wants to get excited about car repair? Well, let's see, car repair, root canal, not necessarily, you know, but it can be that way. It can be that way. So how do you as a car owner keep from experiencing a root canal? Well, that's a good question. I wish I had the answer to that. The answer is being proactive, really. And to be proactive means that you choose, get this, you choose when you're going to take your car in versus, now ask me a question. How many customers do you have, like us, that bring their car to you versus how many customers do you have, like us, that their car brings their owners to you? Which means the car is towed in, or the car is knocking so loudly or vibrating so badly that it's like, this is not safe to drive, or it's enough is enough. So those are the kind of things that put you as the owner of a car in a position where you don't have any choice, and that's not good, because to feel helpless, it's just I don't know any human that enjoys the helpless feeling. I certainly don't, and I don't like that. You know, the FUD, fear, uncertainty, and death. You know, in fact, the Betamax versus the VHR. That story. You familiar with that, Fabio? With the original, video recording. The Sony had the Betamax, and it recorded 1 hour of any broadcast. This is years ago. And Panasonic went to Sony and said, hey, I've got this better model. It's a third of the price of yours. And, Sony, in their infinite wisdom, as the story goes, says, we don't want to be bothered with yours. We got our own gig here, and ours is better than yours. It was. But it can only record 1 hour of a football game or a race or whatever it is that you wanted to record, but you wanted to go somewhere else, and you wanted the opportunity to, while you were away from the television, to record what's going on television so you could watch it at your convenience, like we do today. This is years ago. Well, here was the difference. The Sony was good for 1 hour recording because it had such quality and so much. You could only load so much in that time on the tape that they use, versus the VHS, which would record 2 hours. So it was the fear, uncertainty, and death. It was the fear of loss, basically, that the reason that people say, well, if I'm going to buy this expensive unit, I'm going to lose an hour's recording versus the other one. And sure enough, that's Panasonic captured that whole world. And for years and years and years, they sold those devices. And of course now, if you think about it, there's not a lot changed, except everything's changed with technology. You look at a stick, a memory stick. I mean, I have, and I bought it 3 years ago, a memory stick that is a Wi-Fi memory stick. It has its own battery. It's the size of a regular memory stick with a 32 gig mini memory in it. I mean, 32 gigs, plus its own battery, plus it can connect with my iPad or my PC or Mac. I use a Mac, or whatever. And so it's amazing that there's no real reason that I can't record or transfer from computer to phone or vice versa, or a video that I want to take out in the shop to my Mac by that device that's Wi-Fi. I can, of course, plug it in too because it has the typical USB connection. But the bottom line, the things that we talk about on this program, and I invite you to call with your questions at 888 Car Clinic. And I didn't mention that, but Hannah, let's give Hannah something to do this morning. 888-227-2546. So the way to care for your car is to be proactive. Now, how do you do that? Number one, you set up a relationship with a local service provider, whether it's an independent, a new car dealership, or a chain store. It doesn't matter. It's your choice. But you need to establish a working relationship, just like you have a doctor. You wouldn't walk into a strange doctor's office and say, well, okay, I got to go back, in 6 months. Well, let's try another doctor. Well, 6 months. So you'd be jumping from, doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor, and the doctor would say, where are your medical records? And the doctor would not know you as an individual and know that little, idiosyncrasies about you. That's the same way it is with your automobile. We in the industry get to know your car. And so there's nothing like, having your car serviced, and then a week later or a month later, you got a strange noise, so you call, in our case, you call our service manager, Rusty Staley, who's doing a fantastic job, and you say, Rusty, this is Bobby. Hey, how you doing? Fine. Well, look, my Toyota RAV, it's got this strange vibration, about 40 miles an hour, and, well, tell me a little bit about it. So the bottom line is there's a relationship there, there's a communication there, plus we already have records on that car because we've already worked on that car. And that's the reason why you should choose a shop and try that shop. I mean, it's nothing's permanent. You don't have to go in there. You're not by law to have to take your car anywhere to have it serviced. Even if your car is new, folks, now get this, the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, and I think it was 74 or 79, I think it's 79, says, and it's not just automotive related, but it certainly has to do with your car, but your car, your washing machine, your lawnmower, your refrigerator, you're not relegated to take your vehicle in for maintenance services at the dealership under the, and we're not talking about what's covered by the warranty. That's when something breaks on your new car. You got a new car and it's got an oil leak, or the brakes squeal, or the door, the glove box falls open, something simple like that. Well, that's covered by the warranty. Or the alternator goes out, and the transmission has a weird, funky shift. Well, that's covered by the warranty. So good, but you don't have to take your car in to have the oil changed, or to have the tires rotated, or for air filters back to the original franchise or any franchise dealer. You can take it to your choice. Furthermore, if you're a mind to, you can do all that work yourself. You can change your own oil. You can rotate your own tires. Every bit of the maintenance that is required that you perform within a certain length of time and or mileage can be done by you. If you're qualified to do that and you're of a mind to do that, and you keep impeccable records, and you buy parts, and here's a trick, not a trick, but here's a trick that you can get into. If you use subpar parts, that's a different story. So if you go to ABC Parts House and say, what's your cheapest oil, and give me your cheapest white box oil filter, and the oil filter doesn't even have a name on it. If you look at it, it's so cheap it doesn't even have made in China on it, because they want to save the ink that they would put down on the label, or the label of the box. But it's made in China because it doesn't have any brand on it. And the brand like we use Napa, we use Wix, we use parts from all of the large manufacturers. We use original equipment. I mean, we do a lot of Lexus work, and we use Toyota filters, and which are more expensive, more costly to us than say a Wix filter. It's more costly, but I like that original brand equipment. And we found that, and get this, we found that by buying, 50 filters at a time in shrink wrap, and they're coming in wrapped in 6 units at a time, with no box, but they're original Toyota filters in shrink wrap, we can save like 60 cents a filter. I mean, and we can pass that savings on to our customers. Better yet, we can use OE parts, original equipment manufacturer parts. So if there's ever a question on that engine or engine oil or a problem with that engine and it's still under warranty, and they said, well, and the dealer says, well, you didn't bring it back here to have it serviced. I had this happen on a Mercedes that was 2,000 miles out of warranty, and the engine went south on a 4-cylinder turbocharged Mercedes, a 2016 model. And the dealer says, yeah, it's going to be $16,000. What? Well, you didn't bring it here for service. We helped, and I'll tell you about that when I come back. And I'll take your calls at 888-227-2546. Bobby Likis, you'll love us. If you want the best performing battery, then an Optima battery is a perfect choice for you. Featuring spiral cell and pure flow technology, Optima batteries are up to 15 times more vibration resistant and will last up to 3 times as long as a traditional flooded battery. How? The purity of materials, immobilized plates, and cast-on strap help enable longer life and better performance. Optima batteries, the ultimate power source. Find your next battery at OptimaBatteries.com. That's OptimaBatteries.com. Talking tunes, not the ones on the radio, the ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer, giving you more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. Diablo Sport tuners and Reaper Stage 1 kits provide an air-fuel mixture that's already engineered for the particular setup you're running to electronically compensate for the intake and the exhaust on your vehicle. Whether it's the Predator, the Intune i3, or the Trinity 2, you can find the perfect tune at DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com. This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Folks, this week an 04 Chevy Avalanche with 196,000 miles came in the shop with a noisy front wheel and ABS light on. Our service team determined the truck had a bad front wheel bearing. Not sure about the ABS issue. We called our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional who recommended a Precision brand hub assembly. The Precision hub came with new bearings, new seals, new wheel studs, and an ABS sensor built in. Perhaps the new hub with its built-in ABS sensor might also fix the ABS. We called the owner to explain the process and give a cost estimate. Replace the hub, clear all codes, and retest the vehicle. What a relief after repair as both the noise and ABS issue were repaired. Given the cost of repair, whenever we can fix 2 problems with 1 part, makes our customers really happy and our team heroes. That's why we make O'Reilly Auto Parts our first call. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So we're talking about maintenance, and we're talking about parts and those sorts of things. And I mentioned that recently one of our longtime customers who has several Mercedes, in fact 3 Mercedes, and he's had many in the history, had a 2016 E-Series it was, that his daughter drove, and it had 56,000 miles on it, which I think was 50, either 6,000 or 52. Anyway, it had like 4,000 miles beyond the warranty. So she's driving down the interstate, and it misfires. You know, just running rough, and the check engine light comes on. So she brings it here. Now, we service this car. And when I say service it, we perform the routine maintenance that's required by Mercedes-Benz to maintain the warranty. This car is out of warranty, just out of warranty. And we said, well, let's check it. Well, number one, spark plug's not working. Well, it was worse than that. Number one piston, something happened within the number one piston, and it destroyed the number one spark plug. When we pulled the spark plug out, because we did scan it and saw that number one was misfiring, so we went to the number one plug hole, pulled that coil, and pulled that spark plug out, and the spark plug looked like the end of your finger that you stuck into a fan. It was mangled. I mean, it was, like, in fact, as the plug came out, it damaged the threads in the head because the end of the plug had mushroomed because the piston hit the spark plug. That's bad. Usually that happens with race cars. I know. With racing engines, where you try to make them do something that they're not designed to do, and then you learn the hard way that you couldn't do that. So you fix that problem only to find another problem. It's called the weakest link. Anyway, so this engine had less than 57,000 miles on it. And so the owners, we looked at it and we diagnosed it and we said, hey, Mercedes needs to look at this, because this might or might not be, but they need to look at it because it's just out of warranty. And the fact that any car today, especially a 2016 model, would have an engine problem, internal engine problem, not due to heat, it wasn't overheat, and not due to oil, it had plenty of oil, and it had the right oil filter on it. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. Anyway, they took it to the dealer. And the dealer said, well, you didn't service it here. You didn't buy it you bought it from a used car dealer. So you didn't buy it from Mercedes, and you didn't have the regular maintenance service on Mercedes. We can't help you. And that was the end of it. Well, it wasn't the end of it. It was the end of the first round. So then I wrote a letter recapping the history of the car and recapping the parts that we used. And here was the trick. Because we here at Bobby Likis Car Clinic are a member of the Ford Professional Service Network, then we have, in addition to the Professional Service Network, which is a fantastic business loyalty program that is offered by Ford Motor Company to independent service shops, and we are a member of that. And because Ford has their OmniCraft brand, which gives our shops the benefit of one-stop shopping for all their vehicle repair and maintenance parts, and these parts are backed by Ford, and the OmniCraft parts offers a warranty that meets or exceeds all the competitive brands, including labor, and also this includes commercial. But the point is this, folks. The OmniCraft offers the most commonly used maintenance and light repair parts, including oil filters, brake pads and rotors, calipers and struts. But let's go back to the oil filter. So the OmniCraft is a brand of Ford Motor Company. It's owned by Ford Motor Company that provides parts for non-Ford made vehicles. So we buy from OmniCraft oil filter for this Mercedes that meets or exceeds the manufacturer's oil filter. Now, what does that mean? So I write this letter, and this $16,000 Mercedes engine that had not a problem with the filter but a problem with the piston cost this gentleman $5,000. And that was the extent of what he had to pay, and Mercedes reviewed his case and replaced that engine. So what that means to you is that and what it meant to him was a big deal. From $16,000 to $5,000. Hey, that's significant savings, because number one, he brought the car to a Ford Professional Service Network member that used parts that met and or exceeded manufacturers' specifications, and all of those factors together saved this man $11,000 or a minimum of $10,000, and a lot of headache. So I share that with you from a pride standpoint. I share that with you from a standpoint of practical business that we provide to our customers, and that you should know about when you service and have your car serviced. As I said earlier, you can perform the maintenance yourself. I don't recommend that, especially with today's cars, because just the mere fact of changing oil and filter on an automobile today is not anything as simple as it was years ago. There are engine covers and belly pans and aluminum oil pans and torque specifications and crush washers for the oil plug that need to be replaced. And then you need to know that when you take an oil pan plug out, drain plug, and it feels a little hard coming out, there's a problem there. Once you break it loose, it should unscrew with your fingers. But if it doesn't, then that means that over the numerous times it's been on and off, just like rotating your tires. I mean, it's very common when tires are rotated that a stud gets broken off. You broke the stud on my car. Well, yeah, because we had to get it off. Or a tire company, not necessarily us, but a tire company. Well, yeah, because you have to take it off. So what do? Well, you put a new stud and a new nut, and sometimes that's pretty costly. It could cost you $100 for a stud, but you got to have all the wheel lugs on the car for the safety factor. So those are things that we see and we face every day that you are behind the scenes that you really don't know about, but you should know about them, not in practical terms where you're actually doing the work, but you should be able to communicate with your service shop on these particular items. And those are the things that separate the professional shops from the non-professional shops, but they also enable you to drive your car longer, keep your car in your garage and not mine or not your local Mercedes or Ford or whatever you drive garage, but you should take it there twice a year minimum. Now, I want to share with you, and I don't want to forget about this. So we have this long-standing customer who drives an Avalanche. You know what that is. It's a pickup truck. That's really, I love the Avalanche. I love the body style and what have you. They have that, plastic, bedding and shaping of the body that you have to continue to use the black on because plastic oxidizes and it turns a little grayish and faded. But so aesthetically, after it doesn't age well, that's what I'm saying. The problem was it was a GM car, so as you know, and it had a truck and it had an ABS light on. And it belonged to one of our customers, and he said, I got to get that in. Well, 5 oil changes later, 30,000 miles later or 40,000 miles later, Bill, when you got to get that ABS, let Bobby fix it. I'm going to Disney with my family. I'm going to leave the vehicle with you to fix it, service it, and fix the ABS because I put up with it too long. So I think his guilt got him. Long story short, we were able to, now this is I think an 07 Chevrolet Avalanche. So we were able to replace the electronic part of the ABS system that is sandwiched to the mechanical part of the ABS system. So he saved him money. And so it was the electronics that went bad. All right, that's, I don't know, probably a month ago. Fast forward to this week, and now what's the odds of this happening? And in fact, let me ask you this question. When you yawn, when you see somebody yawn, do you yawn? I mean, really.
I know you don't because you've seen me yawn.
Well, I just yawned to you to test it during the break, Fabio, and I yawned to see if I could make you yawn. It didn't work, but it happens to me, and it happens to or if you sneeze or somebody sneezes, then somebody else sneezes, So what does it have to do with the ABS system on a brake? Well, we in the automotive repair industry will go for 3 weeks and never have a water pump. And then we will have a water pump come in on a Monday. Car's on a hook or, on a tow, or it comes in with the owner and it's leaking and we fix it. Lo and behold, this almost goes without exception. We don't get one water pump job in a week after none for 3 weeks. We get that same week that we had the first one on Monday, 4 water pump jobs. It's like, and there's no connection. I'm not talking about a weather change or any of that. It just happens that way. So how does that connect with the ABS? So here's Bill in his '07 Avalanche. What does his wife drive? She drives a 2012 Prius V with 105,000 miles on it. If you looked at the car, you would think it had 30,000 miles. It is beautiful, garage kept. He doesn't. Bill uses his truck in his business, contractor. Well, she uses her truck for herself and transportation, and it's kept in the garage, and it really looks really great. She came in with the ABS light, the traction control light, which is part of the ABS electronic control, and the brake warning light, all the lights. I mean, and the Prius has a lot, Fabio, lights everywhere on the dash, right? Like a Christmas tree, yeah. He drives one. He's got a 20, what year is yours? 04. Anyway, long story short, we had to replace the ABS module assembly on this car. It was very expensive, and we had to prove out that it was bad. But how ironic that the same family, the husband and wife, he's driving a Chevy with 200,000 miles, she's driving a Prius with 100,000 miles, and they both had ABS issues within the same month. I mean, that's just really strange. Hey, on the phone with us, I don't have time to go right now, but when we come back from the break, I will, is Raymond Kiefer. He is the General Motors Active Safety Technical Fellow. And for those of you in academia, you know what a fellow is. And for those of you who do not, look it up, Google it. But the bottom line, I have some interesting questions to ask him about how to, in the future, what is the goal for crashes and for safety? 0 lives lost. That's the goal. And you have to have a goal. Now, will we ever reach that in the transportation industry? No. But we can get better and better and better. And I have some questions to ask Ray, and I'll take your questions when I come back at 888-227-2546. Don't touch that dial. A 2015 Ford Escape recently came into the shop, 120,000 miles and going strong, but it was starting to hesitate, and the customer also complained of declining fuel economy. This 2-liter turbocharged engine is GDI, or gas direct injection, and special maintenance is needed in certain areas, particularly the fuel system. We suspected carbon buildup, and sure enough, using a borescope through the spark plug hole, there was definite evidence of carbon buildup. GDI engines are different in the way they inject fuel, and it can create some issues with repair and maintenance. That's why it's important to use products rated for GDI, like Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit. Each step of the process is designed with GDI engines in mind. We use the kit, and after 2 weeks on the road, the car is performing noticeably better, and MPG has improved a bit. Learn more about Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit and other great products at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but morning's knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, folks. I'll take your car questions soon at 888 Car Clinic, but first, on the Car Clinic hotline with us now is Raymond Kiefer, General Motors Active Safety Technical Fellow. As GM moves toward its vision of a world with zero crashes, that's right, zero crashes, the company partnered with the University of Michigan Transportation Research Institute to understand the real-world effectiveness of some of its available active safety or driver assistance and advanced headlighting, features that may prevent or mitigate different types of crashes. The results, you'll be most interested, show that several of these features are making a statistically significant impact in helping to reduce crashes. Raymond, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you for having me.
A quick question before we get into the nuts and bolts. Raymond, what is an Active Safety Technical Fellow?
It basically means you're recognized as somebody that has deep expertise in your particular area.
And so you're recognized as an authoritative figure because of obviously your background and your education. So we'll get right into the nuts and bolts. Share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers details about this study with the University of Michigan, and how did you compile all the data?
So as was mentioned, we partnered with the University of Michigan Transportation Research Institute. We put together 3.7 million vehicle identification numbers, or vehicles, which indicated the feature content on those vehicles. And then we gave them over to the University of Michigan to match those vehicles to crashes that occurred in 10 different states. They have access to crash databases. Those vehicles represent 20 different models representing a broad range of sedan, trucks, and small, medium, and large utility vehicles. And so we found some very interesting results that, we're moving closer, we think, to a world of zero crashes for many types of common crashes. So I can give you some examples of some of the, what I would say, big crash reduction numbers we found.
Yeah, please do.
So, for example, automatic emergency braking, sometimes called forward automatic braking, is reducing about half of all rear-end striking crashes, and reverse automatic braking is reducing the vast majority of backing crashes, by a whopping 81%.
Wow.
In addition, when we looked at vehicles that had both high-intensity discharge headlamps and a telebeam, we saw a 49% reduction in nighttime crashes involving animals, pedestrians, and bicyclists. So as I say, those are some big crash reduction numbers.
No question. That's amazing. The numbers speak for themselves. And folks, we're talking with Raymond Kiefer, General Motors Active Safety Technical Fellow. So Raymond, what surprised you most of the findings?
Well, we had confidence that many of these features were reducing crashes. I think one of the real important findings is that we found that features that offer automatic braking control, like automatic emergency braking and reverse automatic braking, were reducing crashes by probably twice as much as their alert-only counterparts. So those features have the advantage of not relying on the driver to respond quickly with the right action when an accident situation happens. And those features with automatic control can also kind of respond quickly to sudden crash situations that a driver may not to. So that's a real promising finding, and I think bodes well for where we're heading towards this zero crash vision at GM.
Well, to that end, you said heading. Share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers, do you expect these features to be standard on most models and makes of vehicles? And if so, any idea when we'll see them in showroom floors en masse?
So many of these features are already broadly available on most GM models, and we'll be offering automatic emergency braking standard on 8 2020 models, including the Cadillac CT5, CT6, XT4, XT5, and XT6, the Buick Encore GCX, Chevrolet Equinox, and GMC Terrain. And we fully expect to have automatic emergency braking on virtually all our light-duty vehicles by the end of 2022.
So just two final questions, Raymond, if you will. On the backside, how do you test, and just the short story, how do you test one of these? I mean, do you take an automobile and park it between two and then back up and try to create an accident on the GM proving ground?
So there's a really broad amount of testing that goes on by some really talented active safety engineers that do testing at the proving grounds, on-road testing to get these features ready for production. And, I'm just happy to be able to represent all the effort that those engineers have put into to make these systems as safe as they are. And we're hoping these data generate further interest in these features by consumers and will increase the use of some of these systems. And these type of data will identify more opportunities for us to, make our roads safer and identify more scenarios that we can try and tackle.
Well, no doubt about that. And I guess finally, Raymond, the million-dollar question, how do we get to a world with zero crashes?
That's a great question, and we are aggressively thinking about that. There are many factors that contribute to crashes, including impaired driving, making sure people are wearing their seatbelts, trying to take the errors out, or help people that when they do make errors in normal driving. But, safe driving is kind of the cornerstone of it. And, moving toward a world of automated vehicles that can address some of these human errors is kind of where we're heading. And, that's kind of a pathway to this road to zero crashes.
Well, that's a question that I not only do I get asked here on Car Clinic, but I was asked by another engineer that was in the house just this morning. What's your opinion of self-driving automobiles? And I won't get into that right now, but he was surprised when I endorsed the self-driving automobiles. As I told him, humans don't have eyes in the back of their head, and self-driving automobiles do, 360 degrees. So I'm all for technology. I sincerely believe in it. I've seen it work, and I think that what you're doing and what your associates at General Motors are doing means the world, and it only means the world if you happen to be in a crash, folks. And so this information is valuable, and we're going to make this your time, Raymond. We're going to make this available on our Watch Bobby Live to run this. What we're hearing during today's broadcast 365 days a year, because it's really important. And I want to invite you back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic as you go forward with the next data, the next find, the next step in the way forward to reducing the crashes, which saves lives, saves money, and just as great for everyone. Raymond Kiefer, General Motors Active Safety Technical Fellow. Indeed, Raymond, thank you so much for joining us today on Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you so much, and happy to come back.
It's really interesting to me that when you talk with folks like Raymond, who are behind the scenes, because folks, this is information. He's a technical fellow, so he's not the kind of person that you would meet on the street, and if you did, he would probably talk circles around and you wouldn't understand what he was talking about. But he and his associates, whether it's with GM or Ford or any OEM, the research and development dollars that are being poured into everything from safety, which is what this was all about, zero crashes, that's a lofty goal to say the least, to self-driving automobiles. And that could be a sticky point. And I've actually had many of you who tune in regularly to Bobby Likis Car Clinic to call me and say, I don't care about that self-driving. I don't trust those cars. Well, I drove a 2015 Kia that Kia sent to me. Michael Sprague is the department, the vice president of marketing nationwide, and he was on the program. And after he was going to go away, I said, well, Michael, I'd love to drive one of those. Oh, I'll send you one. I looked at Fabio and I said, right. And, but I didn't say anything to him. Well, I get a call on Tuesday, the following Tuesday. And, I'm calling for so-and-so in Miami. Now, Michael Sprague's Kia, well, it's not in Miami, but there's a company in Miami that the manufacturers use to send automobiles out to media and to celebrities and those sorts of things. And they sent me, they drove a Kia K900. A 15 to Pensacola, Florida from Miami. And let me tell you something, folks. That's the bottom of the state to the northwest corner of the state. That's a long drive. Delivered the car to me, and I kept the car for a week, and it had the radar cruise control that maintained the car behind the car in front of you. And I was anxious when I first drove that vehicle and tested it, and then I followed for some 9 miles through city and off of Interstate I-10 and I-110 down to the exit and off the exit around to the bottom of the backside of our service facility here. And that vehicle, I steered it, but I never touched the brake and I never touched the accelerator pedal, and to include stop and go. And it was really strange because I had my foot, just above the brake pedal. Will it stop? Will it stop? And I was following a specific car. And actually, we were shooting a video of this car, and so we were finished with the video and heading back to the studio here. And that video is online. If you just Google Bobby Likis K900, I'm sure you'll find that. You can go to YouTube, and I was really impressed with that vehicle. And the things that I didn't care for, I also mentioned during my review of that car. The electronics I was more impressed with, and of course, I drive a 2013 Jaguar, and I wish my Jaguar had the 2015 K900's electronics in my car. I'm talking about the center stack, the navigation, the heads-up display was phenomenal, and the safety of that car. And as it turned out, we were coming back from New Orleans, the other side of New Orleans, and we came to one of the most dangerous intersections of I-110 and Highway 29 in Pensacola, Florida, where they all merge, and it's like traffic coming from every direction that merges, and they're all going fast, and some of them are coming up on the ramps, and one ramp blends into another, and 6 lanes blends into 4, and just so happens 30 seconds before that, torrential rain poured. Of course, in the state of Florida, for those of you who live here, you know this, and for those of you who live in Washington or California, I'll tell you a heads up. In Florida, if you don't like the weather, just wait 20 minutes and it'll change. And I'm being facetious, but it's almost true. So this torrential rain came up. I could not see the car in front of me, and it just so happens it was right for this intersection, and I was already anxious about the intersection anyway, because I know the intersection, and I avoid it. Except coming back from driving from west to east, you can't. The bottom line, I use that car's radar cruise, and I let it latch on to with the maximum distance between my car and the car in front of me, and that guided me through from a standpoint of distancing that torrential rain and through that intersection. And lo and behold, a half a mile down, that big blast of rain was gone. And that's when I realized the applicable safety that radar cruise provided. And so that's a perfect example of you never know just how something's great. You never know how good ABS or how great it is to have an anti-lock brake system on your vehicle until you need it. And it's raining cats and dogs, and you nail the throttle. You nail the brake, and the brakes pump themselves automatically, and the car stops straight and true. That is significant. And so when you look at the technology of today's cars as compared to history, then you should be thankful, and you should be more open to higher technology, even to the fact that self-driving cars and a self-driving car is safer than a human-driven car. That's a fact, So with that, I'll take your calls. Well, that should spark some interesting comments. And a little bit late in today's program, but there's another hour coming up. So 888 Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic has been brought to you this morning by Motor Rad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats, radiator caps, and engine management systems. You can learn more about their products and their industry-leading application coverage at motorrad.com. And I wouldn't be, it wouldn't be fair if I didn't share with you the little information about Motor Rad's engine management product line, which is relatively new to this company, but they did launch recently, earlier this year, 4 new product lines for advanced engine. We're talking about advancements in safety. Well, the new engine management products from Motorrad are manufactured in, and this may not mean anything to you, but it means a lot to you with regard to the parts you buy, Tier 1 OEM facilities with top quality qualifications, and each of the parts undergoes a comprehensive 100% inline and end-of-line testing that ensures the quality. Now, what am I talking about? Cam and crank sensors from Motorrad, ignition coils, and if you drive a Ford modular V8 or a BMW or an Audi, or I guess almost any car these days, ignition coils are the heart of the... Can spark plugs last 100,000 miles? Yeah, sure. But the coils probably can't. So in your new car, when it has a misfire, the ignition coils are surely replaceable and should be replaced, and Motorrad is the go-to place. Mass airflow sensors and VVT solenoids, remember that. A VVT solenoid is a variable valve timing that adjusts the camshafts in your car that provides power, horsepower, economy, and all the attributes that new cars have. Just for more information, I would suggest that you go to motorrad.com. And for more information, I would suggest that you stick around for another great hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, you never want to get surprised by a dead battery. A vehicle's original battery generally lasts about 3 to 5 years, but many fail long before then. Next time you're in for an oil service, have the technician test your battery. Better now than too late. Today's vehicles have start-stop systems, navigation, radio amplifiers, electric fuel pumps, 25 or more onboard computer modules, and serious electronic controls that depend on a strong, fully charged battery. Make sure the car you're driving has a healthy battery. Make yourself a note. Go to autobatteries.com and see for yourself how a battery can keep you safely driving down the road or put you on the side, just like that. At autobatteries.com, you'll see battery technology, battery testing, how to choose the battery, how to jumpstart your battery, and more about AGM batteries, my choice. I'm not here to make you a battery expert, rather to help you better understand why a reliable battery is essential for your road trips. Go to autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition Le Mans. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And a special welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Call early versus toward the end of this hour because we get jammed. 888 Car Clinic. Hannah will take your call, put you in the queue, and then I will put you on the air. I see that Martin from New York is already in the queue. So after the break, we will definitely go to Martin first, who has an 07 Hyundai Santa Fe. So we're going to talk about his challenges, and we'll talk about your challenges with your car, or just about how to maintain your automobile. And our partners, the Car Care Council, which is a not-for-profit organization, carcare.org, shares with me, and I'll share with you a little bit later in the program, how you can take action to reduce the effects of severe driving. And you may say, well, I'm not a severe driver. You're going to be surprised. You're going to be surprised. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this morning by Berryman Products. If your vehicle is a little sluggish or getting poor fuel gas mileage, you might try Berryman B12 Chem Tool, which has the exclusive HEST, H-E-S-T, or High Energy Solvent Technology. And folks, Berryman B12 Chem Tool helps clean the fuel system, which can result in higher compression, fewer repairs, that's a good thing, and lower operating costs, that's even better. You can learn more at berrymanproducts.com. I'll take your calls at 888-227-2546 when I come back. Don't touch that dial. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Why is the thermostat so important? Cooling system regulates engine temperature and helps prevent overheating. While it's comprised of several components, the thermostat plays a critical role with efficient cooling system operation. It must regulate coolant flow properly to maintain a specific engine operating temperature, in addition to providing quick warm-up. Motorrad's new stainless steel thermal element Ultrastat is unmatched for corrosion resistance. Its revolutionary Reax wax mixture provides quicker reaction time. The Ultrastat also features bilinear valve technology, which prevents thermal shock to cooling system components, gradually increasing coolant flow versus instant maximum flow found in traditional thermostats. The Ultrastat precisely controls engine temperature to ensure the lowest emission standards, maximum fuel efficiency, and terrific interior cabin comfort. The Motorrad Ultrastat line is the perfect thermostat upgrade option with coverage for over 160 million vehicles on the road today. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. We recently had an 09 Honda Pilot come into the shop with 169,000 miles on the odometer. The vehicle owner said the cabin was starting to smell like coolant, and he was concerned. Upon closer inspection, we found a heater core leak. Choices were to keep the vehicle and make a repair, which at best is half a day's labor plus parts, or sell the vehicle and buy a different used car that could have its own set of problems. We presented a third option, K-Seal. You've heard me talk about K-Seal before. Well, I don't just talk about it, we actually use the product in our service shop. It's a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Other sealers use sodium silicate, which has a tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Our customer went with K-Seal, and 1 month later, no more leak. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
I want to take this time to reach out to our friends in Chico, California. In fact, specifically 93.9 FM KPAY Chico, the North Valley's news talk station, a new Car Clinic affiliate. And for all of those of you who are tuned in now there on KPAY in Chico, a special thanks to you for being a member and a listener to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And of course, we couldn't have done it without the assistance of KPAY General Manager Dino Corbin, and of course his associate General Managers Dino Corbin's Program Director Scott Michaels. 93.9 FM KPAY Chico, and I will add that this program airs from 7 to 9 a.m. Pacific time. So when you're listening to this program in Chico, folks, you should have called me at 7 o'clock this morning. This is after the fact, but because we are delayed broadcast there. So next week, just put on your calendar if you get up at 7 o'clock. If you want to wait till 8, that's fine. But from 7 to 9 in Chico, California, KPAY, that's 93.9 FM, you call Bobby Likis. If you got a car question, I guarantee you, like us, you will love us. That's 888 Car Clinic. We'll go to New York, take a call from Martin. Martin, thank you for holding. Glad to have you in the house today. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Well, thank you, Bobby. I've been listening to your programs about some 15 years, and you mentioned a couple of times on your show that you were driving through this area. I'm in Binghamton, New York. You had a little breakdown in Owego, New York, and you mentioned how nice it was and how nice the people were up here. And,
absolutely.
Just want to thank you for that. That people think, New York State, they don't realize how pretty it is upstate New York here and how nice it is.
Well, and Martin, not to interrupt you, but I was one of those people. I when I think of New York, I think of Manhattan, the city, and years ago, because, at one point in time, depending on your age, you're susceptible to everything from misinformation to rumors to forming your own wrong opinions. And I will tell you, it was such a fun time. I've never been treated so nicely. And the Owego, as we've talked about, I won't go through that again, but I will tell you, and the countryside. I mean, folks, New York is not about Third Avenue, and down in Manhattan, so much as it is about the beautiful rolling hills and the green countryside, and the people that welcomed us. Our competitors, Martin. I mean, we were racing against these people, and we were family. On the track, no, the winner takes all, right? But I will tell you, just being there was a lot of fun, and I'll never forget it. And I thank you, and for everyone that is in earshot in New York, whether you're in the city or whether you're in in Owego. Or Binghamton there, we thank you I personally thank you, because I had my team with me, and we wanted to go back again. So anyway, thank you for reminding me of that. I'll turn the mic back to you now.
Yes, thank you. The reason I'm calling is I have a 07 Hyundai and Santa Fe, and I was once in a while having an intermittent problem with the ESC light would come on and it would stop me abruptly, just temporarily. But then one day back in July, it did it several times, and then I had to look at it at the shop, and it says that it was a yaw rate sensor and the steering angle sensor were out of calibration. Right. They calibrated the steering angle, the sensor, and cleared the fault memory. Okay, now he says you can, but the sensor is $800. And so I've been driving it with the ESC light off all the time. Is that detrimental to the car?
Well, it depends on. The answer is in a good day, on a good day with good roads and what have you. No. If the car, you can successfully use the automobile without having this system in operation. The challenge that I have with that is when you compare any safety issue, and that's what that is, a safety issue. When you compare the ramifications, in other words, what if you do what you're doing, And then what if you need that system in operation and it's too late and you have an accident? I mean, it's like part of the ABS and part of the traction control and part of the stability of the vehicle that's built in. So I would have to, and I'm careful here to answer because I want to do the right thing. Because if I were to say, oh, it's okay, drive it, and then somebody else had a similar problem and they could have an accident, that would really make me feel like, well, you should have talked this person into and helped Martin to understand it's better to fix these safety items even at an expensive cost. So I'm going to say that because I truly believe it, because if my family member was driving that car, and of course maybe if I were in a situation that I might not fix that, I don't know what that would be, but let's just say that I were, thinking that, well, I'm a better driver. Well, we all think we're better drivers. I mean, that's just human nature. So I would opt to repair it versus replace it. And I'll tell you what else I would do before I replace that. And we had this yesterday, and I can't think of the what year it was for a Hyundai, but Rusty Staley is our service manager, and there was a lady in here, and he was on the phone. I walked up to ask him a question. I waited till he got off the phone, and he was explaining to this customer calling us for service that she should take this car to the dealer because, and even though it's out of warranty, because there could be an extended warranty. Have you inquired or taken any steps to see if there was any? Now, I'm not saying that Hyundai's going to fix this, but if there's a lot of people that are having the same problem, there could be a what's called a hidden recall. And so I think I would check into that first, at least make the phone call, or better yet, drop by the dealership and do some research there. Certainly research online and through, you've heard me talk about AllData for years, alldata.com, and look for recalls and or technical service bulletins. So you may not have to spend the full $800, but I would recommend that you repair that part of the automobile versus not, because if you let one electronic system go unattended, it will have ramifications with others because it all works on the same network. That's my opinion.
That was my main question, Bobby. Could it be detrimental to the whole car and to the system? Can it be detrimental, and that can make other things go bad?
Yeah, yes. In fact, I mentioned earlier in the first hour of today's broadcast about the ABS system in a 2012 Prius V with 105,000 miles. And after we put the ABS system on there, Johnny Bars, he's our shop foreman, he's our master, he's our Jedi is what he is. I mean, seriously, he is absolutely, he never fails. He always puts 110% into every repair. After he took this car apart and put that ABS module on it, which was very expensive, he had to initiate the module to the car. In other words, it was a new ABS assembly. I mean, it was a $2,000 part. And he put it on the car. But the car says, I like the old broken one. I know it. I don't know what part this is. So he had to initiate and introduce, it's a simple term, that new part to this car. And during this introduction, Martin, he had, how you boot up a Mac or a PC and it goes to the bar, as the bar comes, or your iPhone when you're updating the software, and you got a minute or two where it has to go through a rebooting process and it loads the product. Well, that's the way this was on the computer. And so he had to wait 2 minutes for every attempt to initiate this new ABS on this Prius. 12 times later, it was successful. And he had to wait for the bar graph to go across 2 minutes, and it said unsuccessful. And he had to reprogram it, initiate it. And he just said, I know this is right, this car, but finally I think what he did was he backed the car up and to move the steering wheel. That was and you mentioned steering wheel, yaw, and a steering center sensor. All of those things were connected with this ABS because they're all connected to the safety of the vehicle under panic stops or under severe slippery road conditions like rain or snow or those sorts of things. So Yeah, it's not detrimental to the car. I mean, it's not going to break another part on the car. Now, if it were an oxygen sensor or a vacuum leak, and you let it go with a check engine light on, yeah, that could take a. I mean, if you had a vacuum leak or a flooding injector, and you let that go with the check engine light on, you could damage a converter. The injector would be $200. The converter would be $1,000. So, in that vein, the answer to your question is it depends. But I certainly would have a professional shop look at it. But I also would contact Kia. And a Hyundai, rather, same difference, and see what I can get from a factory standpoint. Got a hard break, I'll be back. In the service bay this week, a longtime customer's 2000 Ford Taurus. He'd been complaining about a humming noise at highway speeds and grinding when he stopped. With 55,000 miles on the odometer, the driver's had the vehicle since new and never had any work done. No brakes, no suspension. A thorough inspection revealed a number of potential problems. A failing left front wheel bearing, worn-out rear brake pads and rotors, and the beginnings of a leaking brake caliper. Our choice to solve these problems? Motorcraft. Brake systems and suspension repair represent serious work you want done right the first time. Choosing quality parts is critical to ensuring vehicle reliability and longevity. Motorcraft quality brake and suspension parts are engineered for Ford and Lincoln vehicles. From the hub to the rotor, calipers, brake pads, and wheel bearings, Motorcraft quality parts provide you with the stopping power and stability needed for your vehicle. Learn more about Motorcraft brake and suspension parts at motorcraft.com. That's motorcraft.com. Motorcraft, right part, priced right. We recently performed a major service on a 1996 F-150. The vehicle had just under 200,000 miles on it. In addition to fluids and filters, we changed the spark plugs and boots, performed a cooling system flush, and replaced the thermostat, hoses, and drive belts. After a few weeks, the owner noticed a small leak coming from the area where the transmission bolted onto the block. Using a pressure tester, we found that coolant was seeping from one of the freeze plugs at the rear of the engine. This repair would require several hours of labor and another few days or so in the shop. Given the truck's age and the fact it was just in the shop for service, we suggested K-Seal, a one-step permanent multi-purpose system for coolant leak repair that won't clog radiators or heater cores. K-Seal stops leaks and can also prevent future leaks. After driving the truck for a week, the owner called and let us know the leak had stopped. K-Seal is available at fine retailers everywhere, like Napa Auto Parts. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Gas prices, regular gasoline prices. This is dollars per gallon. Regular octane, low octane, which is 78, which is 87. Well, 78, 87. I guess that depends on how you look at it. Okay, prices $2.55. It's down from last week in 6 out of the 10 segments of the country, and then from the same time last year, gas prices are down. Period, across the board, everywhere. The highest is $3.25 on the West Coast. I find that very interesting, as gas prices sort of stabilize, but they also continue to stay below the threshold of the choke threshold. What's the choke threshold? Well, It hasn't been that many years ago that we saw $5 gasoline and $4 gasoline. And Fabio, if you'll remember, we had a gentleman call from somewhere in the state of Washington. You know, we have a station there in Moses Lake, and it was north Moses Lake, or maybe it was the peninsula. Maybe it was not at Washington State. But they called about there was a gas price where this gas station was located up in the mountains, you know, and the gas was $6.38 a gallon there because of the transportation, you know. And folks, that depends, that being transportation, it plays a part in the price of gasoline at the pump. So, and just for your information, which I also think is sort of interesting, let's say in Kentucky, Ashland, Kentucky, or Chevron. So they make gas there. They don't make gas. They formulate gas, right, from crude. Okay. And then on the Gulf Coast of Florida and the Gulf Coast of Alabama, over north of Mobile, Alabama, there's a refinery there. I've been there years ago when it was owned by Louisiana Land and Exploration, LLE company. And I had the opportunity to get to know the manager of that facility. For 20 years he was a manager. And I went over there and did a complete tour, and I really learned a lot about gasoline and those sorts of things. And I saw this gas station in the sky, I call it, because there's a huge, like a train station where the semis would come in. And when a semi that you see hauling gas, they don't fill that semi by the gallon. They weigh that truck when it comes into the facility, and then they fill it with X amount of gasoline that is all the same gasoline for all brands. And then they have individual little 5,000 gallon tanks that are Chevron or Mobil or Shell, and then the additives from the 5,000 tanks are added to the big sum of standard gas. When I say standard, all the same. And on the Gulf Coast of Florida, 85% of our fuel did at that time come from that facility, and probably still does. But the bottom line was they weigh the vehicle going in, they weigh the vehicle going out, because the density of the gasoline depends on the temperature of the gasoline, and they know that it weighs 8, let's say, I don't know exactly, but 8 pounds a gallon, so they know how many gallons are on board, whether it's, you know, 50 degrees or 90 degree gasoline. I found it really, really interesting. Just thought I'd share that with you. And to that end, you could actually make mistakes, very easy to make mistakes when you fill your gas tank. If you were to, say you're going on a trip and you're late and you fill a tank up and you didn't get a chance to get in until maybe midnight or so the day before, and the gas was cooler, even though it's all on the ground, but it was definitely somewhat cooler at midnight than it would be at that same station at 3 o'clock, say, in the afternoon, or 2 o'clock when we're at the hottest time. So you fill the tank when it's cool, and then you drive on the highway, and you stop, and let's say you left early that morning, and by 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock you need to fill up, and you stopped and filled up at a tank, and the gas, the density of the gas is different because it's warmer than it was when you filled it the night before. And then, so that means that you would definitely show increased MPG because of the erroneous reading of the gallons of gas that you're putting in your vehicle. Think about it. And you could take that to the extreme, which I won't go through, but you'll be thankful of that, I'm sure. But I think it's very interesting. And we'll take your calls. Hannah at 888-227-2546 if you have a question. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part today by FordParts.com. You heard me mention Omnicraft earlier. Well, FordParts.com is your one-stop shop for Motorcraft, Ford parts, Ford accessories, and Omnicraft parts. You can see your local dealer for participation and details, and you can find it, buy it, and get back to work with regard to Ford parts. And Omnicraft parts are for non-Ford vehicles that meet and or exceed manufacturer's specifications. So if you're a member of the Ford Professional Service Network like I and my shop, we can repair a Chevrolet with an OEM Ford part, and we can be assured that it's covered by the warranty, parts, labor, it's a fantastic membership, and I'm proud to be a member of that Ford Professional Service Network, and especially the Ford Parts. So for more information, go to fordparts.com. And to answer your questions, I'll be glad to take your questions on the air at 888-227-2546. Here's an interesting, do new car buyers really like technology? And that's a double-sided coin there, I think. But I found this survey this week, and the key connected automobile survey findings include, and get this, folks, nearly 1 out of every 5 buyers would walk away from a new car purchase if the new car purchase did not include the expected technology. Even if the car had everything that they, or the vehicle, whether it's SUV or whatever, everything that they wanted, such as the price, the brand, the design, and the fuel economy. And nearly in this survey, 1/3 of car owners report having a vehicle that is able to connect directly to the internet without the need of their mobile phone. That's a strong statement. Think about it. 1/3 of the vehicle owners have that were contacted in this survey a vehicle that is connected directly to the internet. And then the third point that I found was really interesting was nearly 86% of those surveyed value technology as part of the purchase of a new car. And this information comes from Metova Inc. METOVA Inc. That's a media outlet, but I thought it was interesting that we have people to call in. I don't know about those self-driving cars, and cars are too technical and what have you. And yet, as we learn more about the safety and the technology safety that brings with that, the technology brings with that, those of you that buy cars, at least 20% of you that buy cars, wouldn't buy the car that you liked, that you wanted, even if the design was correct, the brand was correct, and the fuel economy, if it didn't have the technology you expect. Well, what would that be? ABS, airbags, traction control, and then now lane change warning, and even partial automatic steering. I mean, Lexus, Tesla, there's a lot of controversy, with technology. Technology is not technology is bad or good. It's how we use the technology to improve the quality of our lives and the safety of those on the road with us and around us. Around us, I think, is more of what you got to watch out. I love to talk to semi drivers. I mean, and we used to have a lot of. At one time years ago, we were aired on Sirius until I took us off. And the reason I took us off Sirius satellite radio, number one, our radio program manager didn't really like the fact that I would talk about Sirius. But more importantly, because it's getting the information out, is Sirius was so hell-bent for leather to have sports that they put us on channel 136, and then 3 months later they moved us to channel 138, and then 3 months later and I said, wait a minute, by the time somebody finds Bobby Likis Carclinic on Sirius satellite radio, you move us. Well, there's always an excuse there because they're so, because the sports is, such a big money maker. It is. It's about the money. And so I canceled. I canceled Sirius. I said, we're going to be where we have to be every Saturday, so that our viewers can depend that we're going to be there, and I can help them with their car challenges. That's my goal. I mentioned, and we'll take a call in 888 Car Clinic coming up. 888-227-2546. I mentioned some information about from our partners, the Car Care Council. Take action to reduce effects of severe driving. What does that mean? Well, Car Care Council asked the question of you that I'm going to ask. Are you a severe driver? Well, no. Well, I'm not a severe driver. Well, according to the nonprofit Car Care Council, severe driving includes short commutes. Does that ring your bell? Does that match your drives? Heavier loads, cargo, passenger, or towing a trailer. I get that. That's really easy. Or dusty or salty environments. So while, and Rich White, who is the executive director of the Car Care Council and has led that organization for many years, says, and I quote, while most driving is considered severe, according to the definition, limiting the amount of wear and tear on your vehicle and improving fuel economy can be achieved in a few easy steps. So that's from Rich White, the executive director, and here's the following items that he refers to. The severe service schedule you will find in your owner's manual. Also, the simple act of checking the fluid levels and oil filters and air filters and cabin air filters. And then the last thing that you can definitely have a direct effect on and control of. You avoid the quick starts and stops and observe the speed limit. I guess he's not talking to me, but so the bottom line, I consider my short trips, which are 4.7 miles from my home to the studio here, severe on the oil of my car, because the condensation that occurs every time I start my car and every time you start your car doesn't have time to boil out by the time I get to the office, because the oil doesn't get hot until it's been on the road for 2 hours or an hour. And then only then does it boil the water out. I'm going to take a call from Richard when I come back. Don't touch that dial. Folks, recently a 99 Chevrolet Blazer came into the shop. The owner was having problems with hesitation upon acceleration. He'd already changed out several parts: spark plugs, wires, ignition coil, mass airflow sensor, fuel filter, and the air filter element. He even changed the thermostat and coolant temperature sensor. Still had the same problem after putting a lot of money in this car, and he was frustrated. We dug a little deeper, cleaned the throttle body, and checked for trouble codes. No codes. So we recommended Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Carbon deposits and dirty fuel injector nozzles are a common problem with drivability in late model engines. We also recommended a higher quality gasoline. The customer noticed improvement on the first day, and only a few days and a few hundred miles later, the problem was completely gone. Berryman B12 Chem Tool features HEST, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. Drive to BerrymanProducts.com for more information. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease. And she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now, you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for tuning in today. And every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, write that down, 10 till noon Eastern Time on your local AM and or FM radio station. The number's Car Clinic, 888-888 Car Clinic. And I'm just here to help you. Just consider me your personal car consultant. We'll take a call from Richard with an 83 Porsche. This will be interesting. Richard, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby, it's an 83 911 SC. I think you have an 80, right?
I do.
Is yours a turbo, or is it just a plain 3-liter?
From 80 through 85, there were no Porsche USA cars imported.
No, I didn't say. I saw it talking about 3-liter. It's a 3-liter.
Yeah, but the turbo was not an option.
Yeah, I understand. That's what I was. Okay, I got you.
Right.
Okay. Hey, I called you once before about the battery going down, and I spent $300, and the guy never could figure it out, and so I just fixed it. I just take the negative off the battery, but just a side light. Maybe I can find somebody one day to fix the dang thing. The question I got was about the shifter. I spent shift rod coupling, $121, $157 to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
I barely drive the car, and it's still loose and won't go into the fifth gear. Is there a new shifter you can put on them? They're real hard to shift. You almost have to double clutch it going into second, which I don't mind. You know, if you, as a guy that drives standard transmissions.
The shifter assembly, your timing is impeccable, because I just upgraded my 911 shifter assembly. The front shifter, which is where the stick is, has a ball and socket, and the ball has a nylon cup that looks like it's about the size of a large thimble. It's nylon, and it's very aggressively, it's tight because it's a ball socket. So you pop the old one off, and then you lube it, and you force the new nylon ball socket cup on. And what this means is that there's a female receptor, and there's a rod that goes from the back of the car to the shifter, and that rod in the back is where the trunnion is that you had replaced. That's a common failure, and there are bushings, and you can buy a bushing kit or you can buy the whole trunnion. I put a new trunnion on mine, and then on the front side, that's behind the seat there, and it's in front of the rear seat, but under the tunnel, and there's an access plate there with 4 screws. So that's one part of the shifter, and there's the other part is at the front that I'm just talking about. And so there's a shift tube support that holds the shift rod, which is about 3/4 of an inch in diameter and tapered. That rod, it has to be supported, because without the it's a hoop. It reminds me of it's an L-shaped bracket that has a 1-inch nylon diameter bushing, and that bushing wears and deteriorates and falls out in pieces, which mine was. And what that does, it allows the shift rod that is in the ball socket to fall down, not out, but fall down, and it makes shifting very hard. So I haven't driven mine yet, because I am just about, after 2 months, just completed yesterday, in fact, the cylinder lock assembly. I'm putting a new cylinder lock and key assembly in my car, and the cylinder and lock assembly cost me $940, and I had to buy 2 blank keys that cost me $32 a piece, and then I had to pay a local company, which luckily for me, Ace Unlocks, and Chris is the owner for 22 years, personally, because his people said, hey, we don't work on 80-mile Porsches. Well, Chris does. And I waited for a couple of weeks until Chris could get to it, and he rekeyed the brand new lock assembly that I paid $900+ for to use the old key, so I wouldn't have the problem of a classic car that had two sets of keys, one for the door and one for the ignition. That wouldn't work for me, nor would it work for a buyer if they want to buy the car. So I said all that to say that I have, Richard, videos and pictures of all of these same identical topics that I just finished. Now, let me ask you a question. You said they replaced the shifter. You're talking about the one behind the seat?
Yeah, I assume that's what it was. It was the shift rod coupling.
Yes, that coupling, yes.
Yeah, shift rod coupling.
But on the other end, the front end, which is where the shift lever is, that lever that you actually grab the ball, shift ball, and shift it from through the gears, that lever on the other end has a ball that's attached to the rod, and that ball has this nylon thimble that ends up being not a ball, but a thimble shape, but it's a cylinder of Teflon that fits into a female iron counterpart that is bolted onto the shaft that goes to the back, and that shaft will fall out or down without the bushing, because the bushing, so that it doesn't rattle and so that it doesn't scrape when you shift the gears, the bushing is nylon. That bushing should be replaced, and that ball socket cup should be replaced as well, and that's a different operation. So now you still may have to double clutch. My car's got a funky first gear. Even though I went through the transmission years ago with synchronizers, it still likes for me to double clutch it for first gear. Now, I haven't driven it since I put all these new parts on it.
You mean,
still,
well, yeah, of course. I understand first gear.
Yeah,
and then going into second, sometimes you really, unless you really wind it out. If you wind them all out, it goes pretty cool. But if you want to go, you know.
But anyway, so you need to determine before you know the next step, if they replace the shift rod lever support that is about 6 inches behind the shift lever.
Well, I guess I got to. What I was under the. I guess you've talked a lot now about this. Is that I thought there was a new shifter you put in and it would shift a lot better.
Well, yeah, you can buy a shift assembly. Yeah, but why spend $350 for a shift assembly? The original factory Porsche shifter is fine. I put a short shifter in mine, I don't know, years ago. I've had this car 35 years. But that's not what's saying. Before you do that, there are 4 bolts that hold the shift lever and aluminum bracket in place. And also on the right, before I let you go, Richard, on the right side, if you pull the console and pull the boot, the bellows, off the shift rod, and you'll have to pull the ball out too, which is no problem. You just pull it hard and it'll come right off. There's a little accordion sleeve that holds it on there. The bottom line is, once you pull the boot off of the shift rod assembly, you can look on the passenger side, and there's an access hole, and you can take a flashlight and you can look there, and you can move the lever. This is without taking anything apart other than just the boot, the accordion boot off the shift lever, and you can move the lever back and forth, and you can see if the ball socket is fully inside the female socket.
Yeah, it shifts all right, except it won't go into fifth. Yeah, it won't go into fifth. There's your problem then, because when you rock the shift lever to the left and right to go from the left side over to the right, then over to fifth, that particular function has to twist the rod shaft that's hooked to the back, and if that bushing is bad, rather than being held and rotate on its axis, the rod just swings back and forth. So that's your next step. Look at that. Okay, all right. Hey, I have one quick question. I heard you a while ago talk about Mercedes.
Right.
About and the reason I'd like to have an S550, but I just don't like Mercedes people. It's just ridiculous. But what car would you buy compared to an S550?
Lexus.
Alexis?
Mm-hmm. LS, Lexus.
The big one, is that the?
That's the big one, yeah. What? And Susan and Martin, I'm going to come back to you, but Richard, what? See, you're talking about the S550. So you're talking about the 4-door coupe, which I think is a gorgeous car.
No, I was talking about the S550. You know, 4-door.
Yeah, the 4-door coupe. It's called a 4-door coupe.
Oh,
yeah. It's the shape. I think they're beautiful. A friend of mine who's a retired,
they're gorgeous.
They're gorgeous cars. I wouldn't be afraid to buy one of those, but I would make sure that I had a pre-purchase vehicle inspection performed on that car. I'd get the youngest 550 that you could get.
You're talking about buying a used one.
Yeah.
Not a new one.
Well, yeah. What, are you going to buy a new one?
Well, they depreciate so damn much until I guess the 16 is supposed to be a pretty good one, according to Consumer Reports.
Yeah, you said a new one. You're talking about a newer car. It's still going to be a used car if you buy a 16.
Yeah, I was talking about a new car. Period. Which would I'm sitting here with a.
Well, that's for another discussion. You call me next week. And you call me next. I'll tell you what. You narrow it down this week to a Lexus LS 500, which is a new, fantastic car. I've driven one of those, or the S series, the 550 S series, the 4-door, and Mercedes. What other 4-door cars?
Well, there's a Ford Continental, but it's front-wheel drive, and I don't like that.
I pass on the Ford. I wouldn't have said that.
I got a Crown Vic 2006 with 170,000 miles. It's got dual exhaust as hot as a firecracker.
I know. I hear you, man.
Car. If I could buy me a brand new one, I don't know. I just keep driving it, but it makes me mad. You can't buy an American car.
I know. Well, we'll talk about it next. You call me next week earlier, and we'll pick up where we left off. Okay?
Hey, thank you, buddy.
You're welcome. Thank you. Hey, that's a dilemma, folks. I can tell you. Let's go to Martin. Martin's calling back about a question about my comment. Martin, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby. Man, you have the greatest customer service skills, and you're so kind.
Thank you.
I asked you about the ESC, and in the end, you said no, it won't break other parts. But earlier in there, you said it could be detrimental to what were you referring to? Was it the ABS system?
Well, all of that.
You were talking about some other vehicle or something, but you kind of gave me a little consolation, thinking that because in the meantime, that it won't break other parts.
Well, it won't break. It won't break other parts. I mean, in other words, if you have a bad, unlike engine management, let me be specific. Yeah, I'm glad you called back. Unlike engine management systems, where you only have one check engine light, and you got 100 different reasons that it could come on. You could leave the gas cap off, and a check engine light would come on, or you could have a totally ruined catalytic converter, and the same check engine light would come on. So you know all that. So with regard to the check engine lights, every time a check engine light comes on and stays on for a length of time, you should take your car in and have that fixed, because a minor vacuum leak could destroy other parts downstream. A vacuum leak makes the engine run not leaner, but richer, because the computer says you're running lean. You got a vacuum leak that doesn't know. It just knows that the air-fuel ratio is lean, so it adds fuel. So you could pull a vacuum hose, or have a cracked intake manifold, or some other minor issue, and the computer would see that as a lean mixture, and what the computer does is it compensates and it adds fuel, and it's not a fuel that needs to be added. The vacuum leak needs to be fixed. So that would be detrimental to the life of a catalytic converter that costs a lot of money. So you'd be like gagging at gnats there, because you don't want to spend $500 or $600, and yet you'd spend $2,000 for a converter. I mean, and that's on the heavy side, but still it's possible. Whereas with your question about your ABS or ECU or stability control, if you have a bad wheel sensor, that bad wheel sensor is not going to make other wheel sensors go bad. It's not going to cause damage to the computer. It will only affect the performance of the drivability of the car. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that does. Yes, that eases my mind because I also heard what you said previously when you were talking about that. You know, you were driving your own car and you got blinded by the rain and you couldn't see. And I understand the ramifications of driving that with, you know, in inclement weather with rain, and especially up here with us, it would be the snow and the slippery weather.
Absolutely,
Yes, and so you just have to adjust for that until I can get that fixed.
Yes,
but,
sir.
Thank you so much for your time, Bob.
Thank you, Martin. And thank you for your comments. I hate to cut you off, but we're out of time. I really appreciate you calling, and I see that Susan's in the queue. But Susan, please call back next week from 10 to noon Eastern Time at 888 Car Clinic. Folks, that's all the time we have for today. And whether you're like Martin in New York or Victor in Moses Lake, you know, I just want you to make sure that if you drive a Ford part or a Chevrolet, you can use Motorcraft parts for your repair and maintenance. And the Motorcraft parts are original equipment approved specifications. And for more information, take a quick tour at motorcraft.com. Until next time, that will be next week from 10 till noon. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Entertainment, GPS systems, heated seats, backup cameras, and start-stop technology. Just a few of the electrical demands we put on today's cars. AGM, or absorbent glass mat batteries, are up to the challenge. They're precision engineered to offer the ultimate combination of power, durability, and reliability. One advantage of an AGM battery, robust design with high compression cell design and glass mat separators. AGM batteries are built to excel in the most demanding conditions. AGM, the better battery for today's vehicles. Learn AGM advantages from Clarius at autobatteries.com.
O'Reilly. If you hear squealing and grinding noises from your vehicle, it's time for new brakes. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, when you buy any set of Brake Best pads and any 2 Brake Best rotors, you'll save 10% on your total purchase. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
Out in the field, it takes hard